Thank you very much, President Reisling, members of the board, Dr. Wise. It's always a good time for me to talk about the finances of the school district. This is the annual October five-year forecast. This is our first initial forecast. As you know, we have another one that comes up in May where we adjust it. That's also required by law. But the purpose of the forecast is to provide you with the information you need to make good, sound financial decisions. It's also a tool that we use to approve contracts. If we don't have money in our forecast, we can't approve contracts. So it's also a tool in that matter. What I like to say before I get started on the forecast is it is created in a conservative manner. I think you'll see throughout the years that I try to stay somewhere between 2% of revenues and 2% of expenditures, and for a $200 million budget, that can swing the bottom line at about $8 million. So there is some leeway in the budget to make sure that we're never coming in worse than we thought. So I don't think you'll ever see one of my five-year forecasts where I come to you and say, hey, we missed our mark and we don't have as much money as we thought we were going to have, and that's an important thing for me.
For us too.
I always just thought that's a good way to do it. What I'd like to first talk about, this is probably the most change I've ever seen in my whole career as a treasurer doing these five-year forecasts, as far as changes in state revenue, and also we have a new taxpayer that's going to be paying taxes to the school district. So we've had more changes than I've ever seen before, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit of detail. Before you look up at the screen, that's in a little bit. I just want to talk about overall our revenues have increased from the previous fiscal year about 2.5%. That's in fiscal year 2014. And in 2015, I'm projecting another 3.7% increase. After those years, I'm showing it to be relatively flat. The two main components of revenue that are causing the increases are real estate taxes due to the addition of the casino on our tax duplicate, and our state revenues due to the new state biennial budget, House Bill 59. I want to talk first a little bit about the casino. Recently, the casino value was placed on that by the county auditor. That number is going to start hitting the press soon, I believe. I understand the dispatch has that number now, and the casino value is going to be listed at $165 million. If you look at what was promised by the Casino Commission, it was right around $250 million of total investment. We know that there's over $100 million of furniture and equipment in there for the machines, so they're meeting their obligation that was on the ballot that was approved by the voters. One thing that does play into this, we are going to receive additional tax dollars from the casino, but we also, since 2009, have had 900 Board of Revision cases pending, and that's about $137 million worth of value there. So it's not just that we get all this new money from the casino. We also have things that happen during reappraisal, and also things that are still going on with Board of Revision cases that are affecting our tax collections. If you do look at the forecast itself, you will see an increase from fiscal year 2013 to 2014 in the amount of about $600,000, and another increase going in 2015 of about $400,000. Those two amounts, taxes are paid in calendar years, so the first tax bill the casino will make will be in January of 2014, so that's half of fiscal year 14. The next half will be in our fiscal year 15, so that's how I accounted for that. I am being conservative with that. We'll have to see how this plays out and how this increase in value affects our tax collections. I always want to mention when we talk about property taxes where we stand with other districts in the county. We're currently 11th out of 16 in operating millage rates. If you looked at where we are in comparison to the top in the county, we're 14 mills lower than the top school district millage rate. Our overall millage, the five-year forecast just talks about the general fund, but our overall millage, when you include our bond issue and our PI levy, we're 12th out of 16 in Franklin County, and we're 16 mills lower than any other district in the top district in the county. Part of the reason why that millage rate stays low is, you remember, our no new millage bond issue was just that. It's a no new millage bond issue, so you'll see our bond rate has stayed consistent, and we haven't gone above that approved amount that we have, so taxes haven't gone up in that manner. We're being able to do these buildings without increasing any taxes. To switch to state revenue, the House Bill 59 pumps some more money into schools, but that's where I want you to look at this chart just to point a few things out. We are a capped district, which means that we, in fiscal year 14, we're capped at a 6.25% increase, and in fiscal 15, we're capped at a 10.5% increase. So we are receiving the maximum amount of dollars that the state is providing to school districts. But what I want to point out is, if you look at what our amounts are, if you look at fiscal year 2012 up here on the chart to fiscal year 2013, we had a decrease of 5.5%, or $6.5 million from previous fiscal year. Fiscal year 2013 to 2014, this is where this new state money kicks in. We're going to see an overall increase of about 4.29%, or $4.7 million. The reason being is that they have decreased in some other areas. We used to get the ARA funds, the state fiscal subsidy funds. We used to get poverty-based assistance. There was all different kinds of funds that we used to receive that they had decreased over time. And I went back and looked at our state budget, our state foundation dollars since 2010, fiscal year 2010. In fiscal year 2010, our total state funding is $115.9 million. You can see that's lower than we're anticipating for this current fiscal year. In fiscal year 11, it was $117.8, once again lower than we're receiving this fiscal year. And in fiscal year 2012, it was $116.5. So in the past, we were getting more dollars from the state. We readjusted our budget. We readjusted our expenditures to meet that inflow of money. And I think we did a nice job with kind of keeping with the times and moving with the funding that we were receiving from the state and from our taxpayers. Any questions about that graph or that data? It's pretty interesting to see that, we talk about getting additional state funds, and we are getting additional state funds, but if you look back in prior years, we actually received more in the past than we do this fiscal year. Okay, moving to expenditures. Our overall expenditures in our 5-year forecast are increasing 3.5%, and then they average for the remaining years 4.8% per year. And I'll talk a little bit why that amount is going up a little bit more. Overall, when we're comparing to Franklin County districts, again, we're 13th lowest out of 16 Franklin County school districts. If you look at the top per pupil expenditure, we're $5,000 per student less than that amount. We're also under the state average per pupil expenditure amount. So I think if you're looking at benchmarking against other school districts, we're doing a fine job there. The bulk of our expenditures are tied up in personnel, salaries and wages, and benefits. We currently have settled agreements with our OPSI union and our SWA administrative group. As you know, those were 2% increases over the next 3 fiscal years. And then in the future, as I have in the past, I put in for historical purposes, I also put 2% in for fiscal year 17 and 18, just to keep that amount in there so everybody knows what I've used for my assumptions. We're currently still negotiating with our teachers union. That's in progress, hopefully to have some resolution soon. The next thing, I talked about why our amounts are going up a little bit higher in the next few years. One thing that we have done with this new building project is now have the space for all-day, everyday kindergarten. I've placed in the 5-year forecast the implementation of all-day, everyday kindergarten for fiscal year 2015-16. I talked about that at the May forecast also, so that amount is still in there. So those things are what we see as necessary to educate our students. Also, we have a growing student enrollment. This year we're up 220 students. That amount is when you add 220 students, you're going to need some additional staff to house those students. I also have increasing enrollment throughout the forecast and addition of 5 to 10 staff members for the duration of the forecast. So that's why that increase is a little bit higher than normal. Employee benefits, that's a hot topic right now with the Affordable Care Act. I'm sure people have seen, if you haven't heard about the Affordable Care Act, it's out there. There's a lot of things going on with that. There's a lot of discussion on possible increases in premiums. There are some things that we know are going to happen. We are obligated by the Affordable Care Act to offer insurance to any person that works for us over 30 hours on average per week. That was delayed in implementation. It was supposed to go in implementation in 2014. It has been delayed to 2015, but we are working through that and seeing what that is going to cost the district, but we do anticipate an increase in costs for that. I do have a trend increase of 7% for our health care premiums for this upcoming fiscal year, and 10% as I have in the past for the fiscal years beyond this current fiscal year. Overall, if you don't like numbers, this is just a good graphical way to look at our forecast. It shows these are all projected years. The first year, fiscal year 14, is the current fiscal year we're in. The blue represents our revenues, the red represents expenditures, and green is cash balance. You can see that the first fiscal year 14 and 15, we are bringing in a little bit more than we're spending, and our cash balance remains constant. But in fiscal year 16, 17, and 18, based on the assumptions that are placed in this forecast right now, we start to deficit spend in fiscal years 16, 17, and 18. As I said earlier, I do try to put this together pretty conservatively, so it is possible that we can balance our budget by that time. I'm hopeful that we can do that. And one of the main things that I like to point out, and I've been pointing this out a lot recently, is as a district, we want to be in a good financial position. We'd like to have 3 to 6 months of cash balance at all times. Currently, and that for a district our size, 3 to 6 months is somewhere between $45 million and $90 million to have as a cash balance at all times. This forecast keeps that cash balance right around that area. So we're in a great shape cash-wise. It puts us in a position that if something does happen with our tax base, if something does happen with this state funding formula, or something does happen with our expenditure side, that we have the resources available to take care of it right now and then readjust in the future. It just gives us that time to adjust and that time to think and step back and just make a better plan than to do something in an emergency manner. So I'm real pleased. We've never been in such good financial shape, and I'm just excited about bringing this kind of information to you as a board and to our community. It's important to them too to not be looking over their shoulders and wondering when the next levy's coming. So with that said, I'll field any questions if you have any.